At 9:31 in the morning, Daniel was down exactly $100. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, he had lost $10,000. The market did not crash. His broker did not steal his money. There was no surprise announcement or once-in-a-lifetime event. The entire disaster began with one ordinary losing trade and one dangerous thought. I just need one more trade to get it back. Daniel is a composite character, but the decisions in this story are painfully real. They happen every day in gold, Forex, Bitcoin, Ethereum, stocks, and futures. The numbers may change, but the psychological chain is almost always the same. Daniel started the day with a $25,000 trading account. He considered himself disciplined. He had a written setup, a fixed trading window, and a maximum risk of $100 per trade. His first trade was on gold, shortly after the New York session opened. The setup was valid. His entry was reasonable. His stop loss was placed exactly where his plan required. A few minutes later, gold moved against him and hit his stop. Loss, $100. Nothing was wrong yet. Losing trades are part of trading. Even a profitable strategy can produce several losses in a row. Daniel had followed his rules, controlled his risk, and taken a completely normal business expense. He should have closed the chart or waited for another qualified setup. But less than a minute after stopping him out, gold reversed and moved in the direction Daniel had originally predicted. That changed everything. The loss no longer felt like a normal statistical outcome. It felt personal. Daniel did not think, "My setup lost $100. He thought, "The market took my money and then moved without me." Now he was no longer trying to trade well. He was trying to correct an injustice. Daniel immediately entered again, but this time there was no confirmation. He increased his risk from $100 to $250. His logic sounded reasonable inside his head. If the trade worked, he would recover the original loss and still finish the morning in profit. But the real reason for increasing his size had nothing to do with the chart. He was no longer comfortable finishing the day down $100. The second position moved slightly in his favor before reversing. Daniel hesitated when price approached his stop. For a few seconds, he considered moving it farther away. He did not move it, but the hesitation was important. His commitment to his rules was already beginning to weaken. The second trade stopped out. Total loss, $350. This was the most dangerous moment of the entire day. Not the final trade, not the biggest position, not the moment he lost $10,000. Right here, at negative $350, Daniel quietly changed his objective. His goal was no longer to protect his account or execute his strategy. His new goal was to return the number on his screen to zero. Behavioral economists have studied this pattern for decades. Prospect theory, developed by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, showed that people often become more willing to take risks when they feel trapped in a loss. Instead of accepting a certain small loss, they may prefer a dangerous gamble that offers a chance to break even. That is exactly what Daniel did. He searched for another gold entry, but nothing matched his setup, so he changed the time frame. On the 5-minute chart, there was no opportunity, but on the 1-minute chart, he found something that looked close enough. This is what emotional traders often do. If the market does not provide the trade they want, they keep changing the chart until they can manufacture one. Daniel risked $650 on the third trade. Notice what had happened. Less than an hour earlier, $100 was his maximum acceptable risk. Now he was risking more than 6 times that amount on a weaker setup. The trade failed quickly. Total loss, $1,000. Daniel pushed his chair away from the desk. His heart was racing. He knew he should stop, but closing the platform would make the loss feel permanent. As long as he continued trading, the day still felt repairable. He opened Bitcoin. Bitcoin was not part of his plan. He had not analyzed its market structure. He did not know whether any major news was affecting it. He only knew it was moving quickly, and quick movement looked like a quick path back to break even. He entered a leveraged Bitcoin position with no clearly defined stop. When price moved against him, he told himself it was only a temporary pullback. The loss reached $500, then $900, then $1,200. Each time he considered closing, he imagined how painful it would feel if Bitcoin reversed immediately afterward. That fear kept him inside the position. He finally closed at a $1,500 loss. Total damage, $2,500. Leverage had accelerated the process. Regulators repeatedly warn that leverage magnifies both profits and losses. In futures and margin trading, a relatively small price movement can create a disproportionately large change in account value. Under some structures, traders can even lose more than the amount they originally expected to risk. But leverage alone did not create Daniel's disaster. Leverage was only the weapon. Emotion was the hand holding it. Daniel now felt ashamed. He had broken his risk rule, changed markets, and taken an unplanned trade. Instead of admitting that the session was out of control, he made a new calculation. One successful $2,500 trade would erase everything. This is where loss chasing becomes especially dangerous. The trader stops measuring risk against the total account. He measures each new position against the amount he wants to recover. Daniel returned to gold and saw price approaching a major level. Under normal conditions, he would have waited for confirmation. This time he entered early because he was afraid of missing the move. The position went into profit. For a moment, he was up nearly $1,000. Relief flooded through his body. He imagined the comeback story. He imagined closing the day at break-even and promising himself that this would never happen again. But he did not take the profit because $1,000 was no longer enough. He needed $2,500. Gold reversed. When the position went negative, Daniel added to it. He told himself that the second entry gave him a better average price. In reality, he was increasing his exposure while his original idea was failing. He eventually closed the position with another $2,500 loss. Total loss, $5,000. At this point, a disciplined trader would recognize an emergency. Daniel recognized an opportunity. He believed the day had already become so bad that another trade could not make it feel much worse. This is another psychological trap. As losses grow, each additional dollar can begin to feel less significant. Risk that would have seemed insane that morning now feels almost normal. Daniel placed one final trade, risking enough to recover the full $5,000. There was no setup. There was no objective analysis. There was only urgency. The position moved against him almost immediately. He removed his stop because he could not tolerate another realized loss. His broker eventually forced the position closed as his available margin disappeared. Final trade loss, $5,000. Total loss for the day, $10,000. His $25,000 account was now worth $15,000. That was a 40% drawdown. And here is the brutal mathematics of large losses. To recover from a 40% drawdown, Daniel would not need a 40% return. He would need approximately 66.7% just to get back to his starting balance. The disaster was not created by one terrible trade. It was created by a sequence. A loss triggered a thought. The thought created an emotion. The emotion changed the decision. The decision increased the risk. And the larger loss repeated the cycle with even more pressure. Research supports the danger of excessive activity. One major study examined more than 66,000 brokerage households. The households that traded most frequently earned an average annual return of 11.4% during the study period, while the broader market returned 17.9%. The study does not prove that every active trader will fail, but it does destroy the idea that more trading automatically creates more opportunity. FINRA also warns that frequent or impulsive trading can damage performance and increase costs. Every additional trade introduces another spread, fee, execution risk, and opportunity to make an emotional mistake. So how could Daniel have prevented the disaster? The first defense was already in his plan: fixed risk. After losing $100, his next qualified trade should still have risked $100, not $250, $650, or $2,500. The second defense is a daily circuit breaker. For example, after 2 losing trades or a predetermined daily loss, the platform closes. No negotiation, no changing markets, no searching for a faster opportunity. The third defense is accepting that lost money is gone. The next trade does not owe you anything. It does not know your previous result, your account balance, or the amount you need to recover. Every new trade must begin at zero. The fourth defense is recognizing rule breaking as the real stop loss. If you increase size emotionally, move a stop farther away, enter an unplanned market, or take a setup that does not exist. The trading session should end immediately. Finally, risk must be small enough that one stop loss does not feel like a personal emergency. If losing $100 creates an overwhelming need to recover it immediately, then $100 may already be too much risk. Daniel did not lose $10,000 because his first analysis was wrong. His first loss was controlled, normal, and harmless. He lost $10,000 because he refused to let a $100 loss remain a $100 loss. That may be the most valuable skill a trader can develop. Not predicting every move. Not finding the perfect indicator. Not winning back money before the market closes. Simply keeping a normal loss normal. Because the market will offer another trade tomorrow. Your account may not offer another chance.